Welcome to all my fellow metalheads, extreme music lovers, horror enthusiasts, occultists, and backyard belchers to the one and only Mendo Metal Podcast. We're a Mendocino County-based podcast focusing on the various metal genres and bands from our neck of the woods and beyond. We're back in your face for another episode. I'm Austin Spence from the band Embryonic Devourment, and with me is my co-host Brian Sticky Tips. Joining us today, we have Kenji from the band Narcotic Wasteland and also ONTOGENY. We're stoked that he agreed to come on the podcast, share some insight into his band and their take on the style we all love, heavy fucking metal. How you doing tonight, Kenji?
And all right, thanks for having me on. And it's also Narcotic Wasteland, ONTOGENY, and Tegmentum. I'm in 3 bands now.
Oh, wow. Keeping yourself busy, man.
Yeah, busy.
Awesome. Well, take us back as far as you can go when you first started getting into the extreme styles of music and how it led to that and being in bands and stuff.
So you want to know my whole history? Sure. So I started as a kid, as an Asian kid growing up. Obviously, I played piano at 3, but I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So I stopped playing at 3. So I started at 3 and stopped playing at 3. So and I just hated music. I'm like, this is nothing but torture. My parents forced me to play it. So my idea of music has been, this sucks. So I was never really interested into music until later on in my life when I was in my early teens. This is when new metal was coming up. Bands like Papa Roach, Limp Bizkit. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to hang out, be able to talk to them. So I kind of forced myself to really listen to what's on the radio. And I was thinking about the song. I was like, oh, this song's actually kind of cool. And the song was Papa Roach, Last Resort, which happened to be a hit during that time.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a bad song.
It's not a bad song. No, I still think it's a cool song. But so, this is right when Rhapsody and Napster was coming out in an online forum. So that's how I traded music and figured all that out. So I was typing on a forum and some guy was like, man, Papa Roach, that song, it's a ripoff of Iron Maiden. What's Iron Maiden? So I looked that up and I was like, whoa, heavy metal? What is this? And I was kind of scared. I was like, oh man, this is probably one of those like devil's music, because I was going to Christian school at that time. Like, this is the devil's music or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, well, let me take a listen to it and see what this is all about. To listen to it. The first song I listened to was Iron Maiden's Hallowed Be Thy Name. And because they said that riff from Hallowed Be Thy Name was a ripoff. No, that Papa Roach ripped that riff off from that song. So I listened to it and I was like, this is amazing. And since then I've been a metalhead that day. So
it was that riff. You just had to find the right music to be behind it.
Exactly. So it was Papa Roach that opened the door, and Iron Maiden just kind of threw me right through it. And that's how I got into metal, and kind of started from there. I've always been interested in classical music because I always, Asian kid, right? I've always been surrounded by classical music. So I played classical guitar. But then after getting into Maiden, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to play metal now. So I got into playing metal. Was in a bunch of bands, moved, came to San Francisco. And San Francisco was in one of the most expensive cities in the world. And I just happened to be living there. I was making $600 a month, and my rent was $600 a month. So that means your life sucks. I mean,
wow.
you're eating ghetto pizza, right? So ghetto pizza is basically take a toast, put ketchup on it that you took from McDonald's, and you put it in microwave, and you survive off of that. Went through that, and did a bunch of tours with a bunch of punk bands, and I always come home broke. I kind of got sick of that. And I was like, I can't be doing this forever. I just can't. And so I met up with a good friend of mine who happened to be a bartender, and he lived in this giant home. And I was like, dude, what do you do? He's like, I bartend. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. I want to do that. So I walked around the city, found a place that was busy on a Monday night. Like, I figured that any bar could be busy on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But if they're busy on a Monday night, they got something. So I found that bar. I knocked on the door, said, hey, dude, I want to be a bartender. And they just laughed at me and like, start from the front, start opening doors for people. So that's what I did. I started off as a host. After a while, I got promoted, I trained other employees, became a server, trained other servers, and became a bartender, and then became a lead bartender. It took me about 10 years, but I've been bartending since, bartending in many different locations. I got so good, I bartended at a Michelin star restaurant as well, too, just kind of going on. And that was my gig. And during that time, I would get offers to play in different bands, go on tours, but I've been just kind of turning them down because just at that time, money just became very important for me because I know what it feels like to be super broke. Like, I was going through that when I was young, and I was like, I don't want to do that. If I start kind of fucking around and playing all these bands and going to parties all the time, I'm going to fall in this loop where I'm just going to be broke. And I've seen my peers, some of my peers who play in, high profile metal bands, they're telling me how much they make. I'm like, really? you were like just in Europe and you only make that much? Like, damn. So I figured, I want to do that stuff, but at the same time, I don't want to come home just stressing out about bills and stuff. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to spend a couple of years of my life, just sacrifice my social life and just kind of work and grind. So that's what I did for a few years. And, I was working 3 bartending jobs. I was working 7 days a week. Man, I lost all my friends because they didn't see me. I never went to my family gatherings. I just worked and grinded. And finally, about a year and a half ago, I met my financial goal. And, I got a bunch of metalheads together. I'm like, dude, let's buy a home. Let's buy a home and just be secure. Just be done with the rat race. And that's what we kind of did. I got my real estate license, represented myself, bought a home, and now I'm secure. And now that I have that groundwork done, I'm like, okay, now it's time for metal. That's why I'm in like 3 different bands, and that's why I'm like touring everywhere now. And when Narcotic Wasteland asked me to join, it was a perfect timing because that's when I stopped grinding. I was like, yeah, I got time now. So yeah. So when they asked me, dude, do you wanna tour with us and just be rock stars? I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. So that's how I joined.
Right.
And that's why I'm in 3 different bands. And I'm here today.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there that do it completely backwards. They drop out of high school, join the band, and then they're suffering, for 20 years of their life, and then finally at the end of it, they finally figure it out, and oh shit, I gotta crunch and grind now to get established, and you kind of went about it the smart way, in my opinion.
I went about it the opposite way. I feel like it's like the way you explain it right now is the majority of the metalheads I meet.
Right,
they're doing cool shit, and around their 30s they kind of start getting nervous, and when they're 40 they're like, dude, what the hell did I do? And they're just kind of stuck, because by the time they're probably married and have kids, and that's a huge factor when you have kids and you're in marriage. Like, man, we're gonna choose music over your family. It's like a hard choice to make, but you got to choose family when that happens. So that's when people kind of drop out. So I foresaw that stuff happening, and I said, let me do that in reverse. Actually, let me take care of my finances first and make sure I'm secure now. Then I can party the rest of my life. So I don't have life-changing enough amount of money or anything like that, but I've kind of been frugal and been smart about how I allocate my funds. I figured out retirement and how that works. So I'm kind of secure in that regard, where I don't really have to worry about bills when I'm on tour, because when I'm on tour, I'm like, dude, I'm paying rent in a place I'm not living out of, and I got bills that's stacking up in a place I'm not living out of. And, I kind of figured that out. So yeah, I'm much more flexible to do music now.
Yeah, that's a tough balance to find, but it seems like you at least found the balance. And, like you said, I mean, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily rich, but you have found enough of a balance to where you can kind of exist right in the middle, right there, be able to hold things down at the home life and still be able to do, what you love. And when you find that, man, that's what it's all about, bro. In my opinion, you're living the fucking dream. That's
well, getting there, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
So there's not a lot of people in the music scene, if you want to say, no offense to anybody, but there's not a lot of people that do it right. There's a lot of people that kind of are running before they walk, and it seems like you did the progression the right way. So kudos to you. I didn't make any of the right choices myself. I'm still making shit choices. So hey, kudos to you, dude. Right on.
No, man, you're supporting all the bands from behind the scenes, which is super important. We need people like you in the scene. If we didn't have people like you in the scene, man, I mean, the scene would be dead. It's like we need to have like, bands are stupid. Like, really, we're all stupid. Musicians are stupid. We need someone smart that has that kind of brain to be able to organize and be able to put these shows together, because
I think everybody has their place in it. Everybody has their forte. Everybody has their skill set, and everybody has their things. I'm blessed for whatever reason to just have figured out whatever my process is, and it works. So, but no, I admire you for what you've accomplished, because like I said, there's not a lot of people in amongst us that do it the right way. So to have the fortitude, props to you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny for me, because I went at it full bore like that too, right in the beginning, and kind of fucked myself up a little bit by doing that. And I got married and had a kid and all that. And it's funny because I got divorced, and now that I'm divorced and sharing the kid every other day and every other week, and that suddenly opened up the doors for me again to be able to kind of like, okay, well, I don't have the kid today, I'm gonna fucking work on band stuff. So it's
so
funny how shit works.
Yeah, marriage and kids are things that kill bands, but I mean it's not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. Family is important too, but then like I said, you have to make that choice.
Yeah.
And you can't party and be a responsible parent at the same time too. So
well, marriage and kids make you the promoter. So
oh yeah, you can go that way too.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's what I see a lot of progression is musicians, like they'll play in the different bands and they'll do a lot of stuff and they get married and they have kids and they're like, and now they're taking a back seat. They become a producer or they're open recording studio, or they kind of go behind the scenes, which is pretty cool too. It's not it's a way to be involved in the scene.
Yeah, anybody that's got a skill that they can offer, if they have an outlet for it and they can, find some kind of satisfaction in offering it, that's what they should do. That's what I do. So yeah, man, like I said, kudos to you, man. I'm like amazed that you've accomplished what you've accomplished. I mean, I'm obviously a lot older than you, so to see that you've surpassed where I'm at in life at your age, dude.
Well, I don't know if I surpassed, but it's
I think you have.
Well, I wouldn't say surpassed. Even it's not about financial gain. It doesn't matter how much. If you're happy, if you're content, and if you're secure, then that's fine. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or if you're broke. I was, I was relatively still happy even when I was broke. It sucked. I was stressed out, but I wasn't like in dire straits, thank God. But I didn't have, like I said, even when I was making $600 a month and paying rent, and which sucked, I still was having a good time, so it's your mindset as well too, which reminds me, so this is kind of a good segue into Ontogeny. So people talk to me about Ontogeny. They're like, dude, when's their next show? Like, when's Ontogeny doing stuff? And it's kind of rough because I'm sure Nate, who is the main mastermind behind Ontogeny, the main guitar player and now vocalist as well too. He's a union construction worker. He's in the trades. And man, that job just drains you because that means you're up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and you're working 10, 12 hours straight and you come home and you're just exhausted and don't want to do anything else. So, it's kind of rough for him to be able to just kind of go out and just concentrate on music because you have a choice between career and music. And it's stupid if he chooses music over his career because he has a great job. It pays well. He's set for life. And yeah, I mean, the union will take care of you, but the union, you need to have 100% dedication with that kind of job. So that's why Ontogeny is kind of stuck in this limbo where we're like, dude, want to do stuff, but man, he's always exhausted and he has such a limited time that he could afford towards the band. So
yeah, and it can be really hard on the hands too. I've worked jobs like that, and you come home and your hands are just, to grip a guitar even hurts at the end of a day like that, man, when you've been gripping a, piece of machinery or a shovel or what have you, I mean, that can really just kill you, man. A hammer too, man. You're hammering and it sends those shock waves through your hand and all that. And
his biggest fear was injuries. Thankfully, now he's moved up the ranks so far that he's not really on the he doesn't touch tools anymore. Basically, he has an office position now. He's moved up the ranks, so which is great. But that also means it's a lot more mental stuff, and he's a lot more responsibility. So it's not like he can slack off. Like if I'm going to play a show on Saturday, he can't do that anymore because he's in a position where people rely on him. And these construction jobs in the city, man, they're like multi-million-dollar jobs. So he just can't just do stuff like that anymore. And his PTO is like 2 weeks, and what? He's gonna use his PTO on tour? Like really, he's worked this hard to go on tour and not enjoy it. Like not saying that tour isn't enjoyable, but it's kind of it's like an extension of work, sort of.
Oh, it can definitely be work, man. A lot of people don't realize that going on tour is fucking work. And a lot of the times you're working even later hours and driving, till 5 a.m. in the morning and then wake up and do it all over again. It's definitely draining, man.
Yeah, it's super rough. So yeah, that's kind of reason why we're on Ontogeny is kind of stuck in limbo. Although we are working on a new album, so we should have something coming up, and we should be able to do some cool stuff promoting it. But it's not like where we can go on like a month-long tour or anything like that. Well, I want to. I know Keith, the drummer, he wants to as well too. But we're just kind of stuck with Nate's schedule, which is fine. I think Ontogeny will do some cool stuff once in a while. So yeah, that's kind of what Ontogeny is at right now.
So I wanted to get into like maybe a different area with you.
Sure.
I've seen you play, I've seen you play live, and I've noticed that your particular style of playing seems to be very technical, like just a very technical style of playing. Is that something that you strive for? Is that something that sort of organically happens? How do you sort of develop your style of playing?
Well, so, there's two different ways of approaching technicality. There are technical bands that just do noodling just for noodling's sake. And it's like when I thought those were kind of cool because it's just so chaotic. So I don't really mind it, but I'm kind of shifting way towards a direction where I still like the noodling, but I like the noodles to make sense.
Yes.
I like the noodles to taste good. I like the noodles to taste good. You know what I mean?
We like it too.
Yeah. So I'm kind of shifting towards that direction. But to answer your question, I was always into abrasive, noisy, fast music, and technicality was kind of an extension towards that. I didn't mind the sloppiness of punk.
It's intentional. That's what you pursue, is that particular style of playing, or like I said, or does it just sort of happen organically with you?
It's just something that I just like. So I would say it's organic. I didn't necessarily go out of my way to become a technical musician.
Okay.
It's something that I've, after you listen to a music a while, you kind of grow. For example, Iron Maiden started it all, but it's very rare that I still listen to Iron Maiden. I still like some of their songs, but it's not like I go back to Iron Maiden. I kind of moved on. I had my power metal phase, and I kind of moved on from that. I liked, thrash, speed metal. I still appreciate some of those the music, but I kind of moved on to that. And I think it was a natural progression for me to end up in technical death metal. It's not like I intended to end up here. It's just that it just progressed that way. So that's why I'm kind of here. And who knows, maybe in like 5 years I'll be into something else. But I'm just in technical death metal right now. So that's
I feel like a lot of us technical death metal guys, it does come from an organic place, because what ends up happening is we kind of have like a musical ADD, right? Where it's like we can play the Iron Maiden riff, but we play it one time and we're like, okay, now the Anthrax riff. Okay, now the Slayer riff. Okay, now the Cannibal Corpse riff. Now the Gorguts riff. We want every song to have it all, and it's like, and I think that's why I arrived at that point. It's like I want to be able to just fit as much fucking shit into a song as I can.
That is true too. It's also I used to do that exact thing where I would just make it a riff sandwich, where it's like one riff after another, and after another, after another, after another, after another, which is okay. But then I realized it wasn't enjoyable. It just turned into this riff sandwich, which is a giant sandwich, which just sloppiness, and it just didn't make sense. So I'm kind of shifting towards the direction where I like things to repeat a little bit, make a little bit more sense. So that's kind of like the trajectory I'm kind of going towards now. But yeah, musical ADD is a good way to describe it. Although I'm trying to be a little bit more coherent now with my stuff. So
nice,
which is kind of a good segue into Tegmentum, which is another band that I am in right now. We have Andrew Baird, the former drummer from Fallujah. We have Chelsea Murphy, who is a vocalist from Dawn of Ouroboros and Kaylee's Calling, and Michael Ball, my good friend, playing guitar. And yeah, we're releasing a single at the end of the month. When's this airing, by the way?
On the 2nd.
On the 2nd. So it's been released already. Accolades.
Okay.
Check it out on our YouTube channel, Tegmentum, and it's released. And we have a full album coming out in August. But yeah, I'm excited about that project.
What's the name of the album going to be? Or do you have a name for it?
Yeah, Evolvement.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, of course. And I'll probably be posting a bunch of shit about that.
Is that something you guys are self-releasing, or
we are, I think I could say it now. Yeah, we are signed to M3 Records.
Wow,
nice. I don't know if you guys know, but it's Marco Barbier's.
He's familiar with him.
Yeah.
I know Marco.
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. I've asked him for advice, and I've just known him for years, and he's always been super helpful. So it's great that I'm actually working with him now, because I've just always got him for advice, and he's finally said, "Hey, I'll sign you guys." Like, awesome, man. I'm finally working with you for real now.
Nice.
He's a super nice dude too, man. That's a great way to, work with the guy. We signed a little publishing deal with him a while back to his company, Salem Rose Music.
Yeah.
And he's always been very supportive and really nice guy, which is probably why he's got so far. It's just being a cool dude.
Yeah, no, he's an awesome guy. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm just super excited that it kind of happened, the timing of, if it was, like I said, if it just was 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do anything, because I was kind of in that financial mindset of, I need to be saving money. But now that I'm kind of free from that shackles, I can actually be more involved in Tegmentum, and we're going to have some cool stuff going on. I'll probably be around the end. I'll probably be announcing a bunch of dates, because I have a bunch of dates to throw out there for you guys.
Nice.
But yeah, that's Tegmentum, which is kind of in the technical direction, but more in the melodic, coherent stuff too. So yeah, that's kind of a cool segue from kind of moving from the chaoticness of ontogeny, although it does make sense. Tegmentum is probably more coherent than ontogeny.
So do you have a track that we could plop in here? And
I think I emailed you guys.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure that everybody gets to hear that.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, should be an email. And then I guess natural progression is to talk about Narcotic Wasteland next, right? So Narcotic Wasteland, I'm sure you guys know, but if you guys don't know, it's the band started by former Nile singer Dallas Toller Wade. It's kind of surreal for me to this day still that I'm in a band with a death metal icon. I'm like, whoa.
That's amazing. Totally amazing, man. Just seeing those guys play live, as a young kid, man, I was just blown the fuck away. I mean, playing with the guy just must totally be killer.
Yeah, no, I was telling him too. I'm like, dude, I used to watch you on MTV too, Headbangers Ball.
Totally.
Yeah, so that's how I discovered Nile and stuff. And he's like, yeah, cool, man, thanks. But yeah, no, he's a super nice guy. But yeah, no, that band has a lot of cool musicians as well too. Joseph Howard on drums, Brett Lee playing guitar. Awesome musicians, and yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I think a new album's coming out, and I'm actually playing on I'm playing on a few tracks, because Dallas told me to lay down bass on a new single that should be out pretty soon as well too, called Sex Lies DNA. That should hopefully be coming out pretty soon, but I'm on that track. And we have a new record coming out through Megaforce Records, so that should be pretty soon.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I'm very thankful and grateful that they asked me to, it's like timing just kind of worked out as well too, where they just kind of asked me at the perfect time. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to do this. So yeah.
Well, you're an amazing musician too, Kenji. I mean, I've been, watching you for years, man, and your ability is off the fucking hook. I'm sure Dallas took notice right away. I mean,
yeah, no, so how he found, it was actually a show that we played with you guys too at the Thirsty Axe, where, yeah, he saw me playing Ontogeny. And then, yeah, even though Narcotic Wasteland isn't, technically per se, we're just noodling all the time. It's just very fast. It's just very, very fast, and that's kind of technical in itself too. It's not about the notes.
Oh, yeah.
It's about the tremolos and having the tremolos be consistent, because that's an art in itself too, having the consistent tremolo. Like, people think it's easy, but it's not. It's even, having that right hand control. So it's a lot of that. And yeah, that's still, it helped me, learning the material helped me just kind of go back to the basics, and like, oh yeah, the stuff I kind of looked over, like I need to get a little more tighter on that stuff. So no, it's been a trip learning their stuff and just kind of getting myself better in that regard.
Wow, that's amazing.
As I recall, at that show, you were there also filming a music video for Narcotic Wasteland. So then that brings me to my other question is, obviously you have more talents than just being a musician. So how did you get into doing videography and that?
So videography work, I started doing it many, many years ago. It was around the time, I'm good friends with a band called Fog of War, and they were a thrash band back in the Bay Area.
Familiar with them. Yeah,
they're kind of in limbo right now as well too, but it was during the time where they're releasing a new album, and they needed a music video director. And it's it's still to this day too. Everyone's charging about, you know, a couple $1,000s, and dude, we're musicians, we're broke, and like everyone's trying to save up a lot of money, and then you know they pay for a videographer, but you know when you're spending that much money and you're not really sure what kind of product you're going to get, I just kind of saw this gap there where it's like, you know what, let me fill in that gap. I kind of feel bad for these guys. I kind of feel bad for all these musicians who just saving up and just spending all a shit ton of money for videography work. And I saw at the time videography is going to be the future. YouTube, I mean, if you're not on YouTube, you might as well not exist, right? If you don't have a video, you might as well not exist because it's so visual. Like Facebook, you can just write about your band, you can kind of post your music, but if you don't have a video accompanying it, people won't even take a listen. So it gives you a better chance of exposure as well too. And I kind of saw that, and I saw the need for an affordable solution. So I thought, you know what, let me, you know, I've been working hard, I've been saving up money, I got a little bit of cash saved up. Let me do this thing. So I bought a camera, Canon 5D Mark II. I mean, it's not the best camera, but it's like the lower end of the prosumer. And, you know, I got that camera, taught myself how to use it. You know, I taught myself how to play guitar and bass for YouTube videos. So same thing for YouTube videos. There's such a great resource now. It's awesome. You can just pretty much teach yourself anything. So I taught myself how to use a camera, f-stops, like shutter speed. I'm like, what the hell is all that? There's like, I just, you know, before that I was like, oh, I just push a button, that's it. But there's whole science behind it. And I didn't even know that. So I was kind of learning on the fly. Taught myself how to learn Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects. And yeah, I charged Fog of War $75 to do their first video. And
nice.
Yeah, that was that.
That's amazing, man. You know, I want to actually do a video with you, you know, at some point too. I know we talked about it in the past. Yeah. I've just been, you know, trying to line up my guys to get on the same page as me. Life has been tough for a couple of us in the band. You know, it's not so much for me, but you know, Luke, our drummer, man, he's been having a rough time, you know, financially lately. And so, you know, us musicians, we all go through that sometimes. So just kind of waiting on him to
us promoters
get things right.
Yeah. Probably more than the musicians.
Yeah, I know. It's like money and stuff, man. It's just tough on a band. It really is. You know, even though I'm financially stable, it doesn't mean my, you know, bandmates are as well too. So, you know, I like to do a lot more stuff, but you know, for like Tegmentum especially too. We got this record that we've been working on for the last 2 years, and then it's coming out. But we're going to be doing a little bit of a tour, but it's not as long as I was wanting it to be, because everyone's like, man, I got to go back to work. I'm like, come on, let's do 2 weeks. I'm like, no, I can't. It's like, yeah. So, you know, I get it. Money just does get in the way. So Narcotic Wasteland, and to that extent, it's kind of cool where, you know, they don't live in the Bay Area. Like I'm the only one from the Bay Area. Narcotic Wasteland, Dallas is from North Carolina. I think Brett's from South Carolina, or one of the Carolinas. And Joseph, he's in Denver. So it's much more affordable than the Bay Area. So, you know, that gives them the freedom to do a lot more stuff. You know, I was telling them how much my mortgage was, and they're like, what? You pay that much for what? That small house? You know, it's crazy. Like I could have afforded a mansion and somewhere in the middle of the country if I was in the Bay Area, you know?
Yeah. We take what we make here in California, go to New Mexico. You can have gold faucets if you want.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, when they figure out, you know, the Star Trek technology of teleportation, it's going to revolutionize going on tour, man. Because we could just, you know, like, oh, I'm going to go play Africa tonight. I'll be back in a couple hours, you know?
Well, it doesn't have to be teleportation. I think it can just be VR. And I think we're going towards that too. Like I know that there's politicians in India was doing campaign using holograms. This Indian dude was doing political speeches, and he was in like 5 different cities at a hologram. You know, he was like Tupac basically, you know? Like,
oh man, you guys are going to make it hard for me trying to figure out how to charge a ticket price now.
Well, it might actually be easier for you because the venues might be virtual now. You know, we're going to have all these, like, we're going to be in our virtual world. You know, we can produce and do stuff from our bedrooms. So we're probably going to be on tour from our bedrooms now.
Well, I think that would be interesting, but man, nothing beats a live crowd and thrashing around and taking an elbow to the eyebrow once in a while, man. Like nothing beats that.
You know, kind of going towards that too. I was thinking about this the other day. I think tours and doing that is very, very important to this day, because I feel like it's a good filter. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's just so easy for bands and people and musicians these days, or just artists in general, to put their stuff out on the internet and have distribution. Because in the past, distribution was such a hurdle, right? Like it was like if you were a band, then you got to get a producer label and just cost so much money, and then got a distributor, and then you finally, after that, you were able to get to people's homes and people were actually able to listen to you. Whereas today, you can just make something and just post it online and you're distributed to the world, which is awesome. But at the same time, because of that, the market's just so saturated now. And I was just looking up Circle Pit, the website. Dude, they're hosting 3 different music videos a day. Every single day, there's 3 different music videos that they're hosting. I'm like, dude, like, how do you even keep track? And, you know, by the time you're done listening to one, another one's out and just kind of forgotten about the other ones. There's just too much music out there. So I figured that to this day, just because there's such a hurdle to touring, that, you know, serious bands that really want their music heard will be on tour. And that, to me, that's a good indicator of, man, that music, if they're dedicating that much time and money to it, they must have something. So it's a good way for me to kind of scout out the band and discover new music. And
you know what I witnessed the other night. I just went to see Mr. Bungle down in Oakland at the Fox Theater, and when I walked out, there was a band already set up. Yeah, with a, you know, in a bus type situation, you know, like the front flips open, kind of like a food truck type deal, and the whole band was inside, a full on death metal band. Hemorrhage, dude. Yeah, it was Hemorrhage. Yeah. And dude, and the crowd was fucking pouring out from Mr. Bungle, and boom, they nailed that crowd right when everybody was pouring out. And before you know it, there's like, you know, we're all moshing like on the sidewalk and stuff, and they had this whole crowd of like, you know, 100 people or so, you know, and it was huge. And it blew my mind of like, man, that's the fucking way to do it, man. Like,
that's awesome. Yeah. You know,
you know, why even book a show? Just go to shows. They're already big and booked, and just be right there when everybody pours out. Boom, instant crowd.
Well, I mean, if you keep doing that stuff, the cops are getting wise pretty soon. But, you know, I love that DIY, you know, mentality. Yeah. You know, I watched that video of that punk show in Bart. And I watched that video of, you know, the famous Denny's, playing metal at a Denny's, you know,
up, Denny's?
Stuff like that. Yeah. I love that stuff. You know, I still have that punk energy in me that's like, I love that DIY stuff.
I'm going to jump in, guys, because we're down to just a few minutes left here, and
awesome.
kind of wanted to jump ahead a little bit and find out what. I imagine you've got some tour dates or some shows coming up that you'd like to tell everybody about.
I wanted to plug in a few dates real quick. So Narcotic Wasteland is going to Texas this June. So why this time's out? This month. The Don't Meth with Texas tour. That's meth, METH. Don't Meth with Texas tour. June 22nd, Denton, Texas. June 23rd, Houston. June 24th, Fort Worth. And June 25th, Corpus Christi. I'm not going to name the venues dates, the venues itself, because we're running out of time here. And I'm going to just kind of jump forward. Narcotic Wasteland, Tegmentum, and Gorgatron is going to be on tour. Gorgatron's a cool death metal band from North Dakota. We're going to be playing some cool dates. July 28th, Long Beach, Supply and Demand. July 29th, this is for you guys out there. I'm going to be playing at Eureka. It's going to be the Siren Song Tavern. That's a Saturday. And then July 30th, San Francisco DNA Lounge.
Oh, nice.
And from there, Tegmentum is dropping off, and me and Narcotic Wasteland, we're going up north, Portland, Seattle, and we're going to Canada. We're going to do a month-long tour from there. All dates are on Narcotic Wasteland or Tegmentum, Gorgatron Facebook page, or any social media. So check us out.
Awesome. Very cool, man. You got some really cool stuff coming up. I'm sure you're gonna be having a good time out there, man. That's fucking great.
Yeah, or not, and I just quit everything. You just no month-long tour is a huge, like the long tour. You know, the longest tour I've been on was 2 weeks, so we'll see. You know, being stuck in close quarters for everybody, you know, we'll see if we get cabin fever and want to kill each other or not. You know, that's always a risk, right? So,
awesome. Well, I look forward to some of those dates coming around here. But one thing that we like to ask our visitors before we're done is I would like for you to give us 3 bands that you would recommend that you think we all should be listening to right now.
Oh, obviously. Well, I mean, I'm sure everyone's knew about them. Like Cryptopsy, None So Vile. That's my favorite death metal album of all time. But many people may not know this. Lycathia Flame, Eleviniferous. That's my second favorite death metal album of all time. If you love None So Vile, you'll love that album. It's like as if Cryptopsy dropkicked Enya. That's the best way to describe it. So it's Lycathia Flame, Eleviniferous. And the third band, this is kind of weird. Ethel Duoth, Pain Necessary to Know. This is one of my favorite albums as well too. But this isn't strictly death metal. It's just fucked up metal, and I've always loved this album. So
That's all you had to say.
Yeah, just fucked up metal.
I'm gonna be checking that out, man, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, man, it's been great talking to you. It's been great learning a little bit about your process and your history, and look forward to some of that new music coming out. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on the show and having a chat with us.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in. Having me on. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Kenji. And that concludes Mendo Metal Podcast.